Mike, it's really interesting on social media. There was so much positivity from Notre Dame fans when it comes to content you produce on Deuce Knight, the 2025 quarterback commit. A couple things I want to get to. First, Under Armour highlights that you've had a chance to check out. What stands out about Deuce in this highlight package?
Yeah, I'll touch on real quick. I got to interview him. So I want to go to that before we talk about the Under Armour thing.
Okay.
So I interviewed Jerome Bettis Jr. Because he was also at the camp, and then I walk over to Deuce, and he's being interviewed by an Alabama reporter, and I'm catching the end of that interview. A colleague, so I stick my recorder in there too, and Deuce is asked about if he's going to take visits to other schools, and the reporter's kind of like really wanting to see, like, not like pushing the envelope, but kinda, like really trying to see, like, I'm not going to take that first no for an answer. Like, I want to, like, do you really have interest in visiting other schools? Quote from Deuce Knight: no, I'm going on my OV, stands for official visit, to Notre Dame June 14th to 16th, and I have a spring visit too, and that's about it. And I was like, okay, like Deuce, there was like a moment there. It was like, man, Alabama's pushing, and Kalen DeBoer's got family connections to Deuce Knight, having coached his brother Indiana, and Deuce Knight's like football idol right now is Michael Penix, this big time lefty quarterback who was his coach at Washington, of course, Kalen DeBoer. But things are looking pretty good for Notre Dame, after that. So in terms of the highlights, Darren, so this is what I want to talk about. With CJ Carr, Notre Dame's quarterback, signing the 2024 cycle, a lot of the takes on him, especially from the On3 national, evaluators, was he's super polished at the camp setting, but they didn't love him as much on Friday nights compared to the other top quarterbacks in the country. For whatever reason, you'd have to ask them about that. Deuce Knight, I get the opposite vibe. At the camp setting, this is not like his ideal thriving scenario. He's not a super polished quarterback at this point. He's a total ball of clay, which Notre Dame absolutely loves. And he looked good, but again, a ball of clay. I don't believe he's had like a quarterback trainer, like a private quarterback coach. He's just playing off raw ability and athleticism. So you throw in Darren. I forgot to include this in the story. I hand timed him running a 40-yard dash. And remember, he's just finished basketball season. I don't know when the last time he's even tried to run a 40 was. And this was hand time, so take it for what it's worth. A 4.62 at like 6'4", 195 pounds. A 4.62 with that context is crazy. Like, that's just natural. I'm just going to get up out of bed and run a 40-yard dash. And he runs a 4.62. I mean, for folks watching on YouTube, he looks the part. I mean, he miss some throws on the day, and was out of sync with some these receivers who didn't even know their names? Sure, but like he's a fascinating prospect. And going back to the whole camp setting thing, Darren, again, I got to see him at this Under Armour camp in Carrollton, Georgia, where there's a lot of other top quarterbacks. There's a really good quarterback group. What he's best at is the Friday night stuff, like getting outside the pocket and running, and just being dynamic as an athlete. He can throw from inside the pocket for sure. He's not a one-trick pony where he just needs to run and scramble and make something happen. But that is definitely something that he's very good at and separates him from some of these other quarterbacks. So to kind of recap this, Deuce is a ball of clay. I'm texting with Notre Dame sources while I'm at this thing, and they're like, listen, when he gets to Notre Dame, that's when you're going to get all of that coaching and development. He's not someone you're going to want to play as a true freshman, or maybe not even as a sophomore. I mean, maybe we'll see, but you develop him at Notre Dame. He's not going to come in with bad habits, right? Because he doesn't have the private coach down the street's been teaching him how to do this for 6 years. Deuce doesn't have any of that, and you just get like the arm strength, the athleticism, the size. I mean, the sky's the limit for Deuce Knight.
at the end of the day, how many stars these guys get don't matter as soon as they arrive on campus. I'm just curious, with a guy like Deuce, he's going to be a 5-star quarterback. Does it make it difficult, for example, like the on-3 evaluators, to put a star by him knowing he may not be ready to play the first couple of years, but you're projecting his development and what he might become once he gets to Notre Dame? You see where I'm going with that?
Yeah, Darren, we probably would need 10 to 15 more minutes on that.
Fair enough.
But listen, I'll be, because if I start to kind of give some thoughts on that, it would just make a lot of people upset.
Yeah, then
I'll do it. I'll do it anyways. I'll do it anyways, Darren. So on 3, when they rank someone a 5-star, they see them as a first-round pick. So a lot of that's kind of how they grade. They grade towards the NFL draft. People are like, I don't care about where they're going to go in the draft. I care about how they're going to do in college. That's what the ranking should be. To my response is, the best players in college, what happens, Darren? They get drafted the highest. It's more of like a benchmark of, if you were a 5-star, how do we determine if that ranking was a success or not? Do you do it based on stats? Do you do that based on accolades? If you're going to do that based on stats or accolades, then there's a whole hell of a lot of, issues with that compared to, you got drafted in the first round. That must mean you were pretty darn good talent. So with Deuce Knight specifically, he might be someone you're looking at like, he's got all of the measurables and intangibles to be a first-round pick. Like, that kid is just going to his senior year, and he looks like that, and he can run. And like, his frame, Darren, he's got giant hands. Like, everything about Deuce Knight screams like future superstar.
Very good. You handled it very well.
Does that make sense? Did I explain that well?
Yes. No, I like it. No, absolutely. All right, we'll do the War and Peace version of that answer at another time on a rainy day, okay?
There you go.
All right. What's happening at blueandgold.com right now?
A lot, Darren. I'm swamped. I just got back from vacation. So much work to get done. Notre Dame picking up 3 commitments in the past 9 days or so. Could the Irish have more around the corner? We'll have to see. But definitely a busy time at blueandgold.com in our audiences. Use the promo code UND1, and it's just $1 for your first 2 months if you're a new subscriber. So please do check that out.
Check out Mike and the crew at blueandgold.com. Mike, thank you so much for the information and the visit. We'll talk to you again next week.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Darren.